Boy, Ed must be short because Mike's a
little... Well, hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Doc and Lefty program. My name is Blake Labinas, a.k.a. Lefty. We're coming to you live from the beautiful webcast1live.com studios in the frigid, finally fall, downtown Des Moines Skywalk. With me, as always, is my partner in crime and my heterosexual life mate, Dr. Patrick Bertroche. Doc, how's it going?
I'm doing well. Thanks to Ed Fallon, who let us in today to our wonderful show. Sorry we're a little bit late. We had some technical problems. I still think it's beautiful. It's
I love it.
55, 57 degrees out there. I'm still wearing shorts, my Hawaiian shirt. I'm good to go.
I got to tell you, it's about time. It's about time. I wanted at least, fall is my favorite season. Yeah. I wanted at least a couple weeks, but Doc, I'm very excited. You know why I'm very excited?
Why are you excited?
Well, first of all, I'm back after a break.
Well, good.
I wasn't here last week.
That we're life mates now.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
Well, I was gonna propose to you at that Mennonite business, but I didn't know if they'd appreciate that very much. And we'll talk about that here in a second. Pat,
maybe we should get married out there.
I think that we can now.
We can
because some champions of liberty were upholding everybody else's civil rights.
Oh, is that
it? But no. The reason I'm excited is we have a guest. We very rarely have guests on this show, and for our guest, I'm sorry, I apologize. This is kind of what happens. Doc and I get on a roll, and that's how it goes. We got Will Rogers and Pat. Why don't you introduce our guest for us?
Well, this is the always famous Will Rogers from the Polk County GOP. He's the chairman. He is the power person behind anything Polk County.
Excellent, Smithers.
Yes, excellent. Yes, he is apparently a lobbyist and yes man is the way he just
a yes man or a bag man, Will. And I love the fact that you go with Will Rogers. I got a friend named James Morrison, and if you call him Jim, he gets upset. And that's a true story. Yeah,
that's good stuff.
Why?
Well, but
he's not a Doors fan, I guess.
I guess.
Well, I've known Will for about 3 years, and he's been 4 years now, and he's been a really upstanding guy, very direct. So anyway, let's welcome Will to the show. I want Frank, can you put up the phone number so people can call? You can call in 888-244-0077. Why don't you tell us a little bit what's going on with the Polk County GOP here lately?
Well, Pat, I'll tell you, there's 3 things we're working on right now. Number one, we have a special election coming up on October the 21st, excuse me. That is for the House District 33. This was the... for most of you who are around this area, we have on the southeast side of Des Moines, the Easter Lake area, Kevin McCarthy, he was a state representative from that area, resigned his seat earlier this fall, and subsequently that vacancy, we have to have a special election by law, and we have our Republican candidate, Michael Young, who's our party nominee, so we're working really hard on his behalf, going out door knocking, lit dropping, making phone calls, doing the things necessary in order to position our candidate to win, and we're glad to have him on the ballot because, it's quite frankly, it's a largely uncompetitive district in terms of the party numbers. We have about 3,000 registered Republicans. There's about 9,000 registered Democrats, and then number 2, we're obviously getting prepared for the caucuses, and that's obviously a big focus for us. And I think for the Democrats as well. We're all in the same boat together. We want to make sure that we do a good job of putting our caucuses at the local level here in Polk County. And then finally, beyond that, we have an event coming up on November the 7th, and that's with special guest speaker, Governor Rick Perry from Texas. And that event's going to be downtown at the Embassy Suites. And if people want to find out more information about that, they can call our office number at 280-6438. Again, that's 280-6438, or they can go to our website at polkgop.com.
So Will, are there any suggested contributions? Are these invitation only? Or is there anything? I know there's a lot of these are fundraising events.
It's a fundraiser. We're asking.
You buying plates, or you doing a free will donation?
No, we're actually, this is a plated dinner. Ticketing starts at $75 per, on up to hosts of the event with full tables and photo line privileges are $1,000.
So I always like when we have is that raising money for the GOP or specific candidate, or for the Polk County GOP?
That raises money for the Polk County Republican Party, and we have a full-time political operation. We have 2 full-time consultants that work for our county party. One is Daryl Carney does our fundraising. The other one is Ryan Keller. He's our basically our executive director at this time. So
right on. So I always like when we get folks on the show to talk about, especially local. We try and talk a lot about local politics. Although the last few weeks and last few months, we've just been inundated with national stories that are kind of sucking all the oxygen out everywhere, and international stories like Syria that just seem to dominate even more national perspectives. But we've had Doc and I have made it unintentionally on our part a theme over our show to sort of discuss. And this is because, the Democratic Party nationally, at least, has shown a lot more stability within the ranks. They've been a lot, at least seemingly. At least you don't see a lot as much. And I always like to talk to people who are connected to the party about specific things. And what I want to ask you first is AJ Spiker in a fight with everybody, and kind of get your perspective. And I think that I'm right about that. I mean, I listened to his he went on with another gentleman whose name escapes me on Iowa Press, a couple weeks ago, and just they lit each other up. And so I kind of wanted to get a local guy's perspective about that whole thing, and especially going into 2014, how that bodes for the caucuses. Well, I guess. Yeah, we still need to caucus for Congress. So in the off-year election. So what? Let me start. Our caucuses are important because it's the first step towards our state convention. Right.
So the caucuses, at that point, we select our 2 central committee members per precinct here in Polk County, which we have 177 precincts. So, I mean, if you think about that, we basically have 10% of all the precincts in the state of Iowa are here in Polk County. That means we have a larger responsibility than a lot of other places. Then, obviously, working towards, district, county, and district and state conventions, which could very well, I don't believe it will, but depending on our Senate candidates this year, our next year, if no one gets to 35%, that would then go to convention and would be selecting our party nominee for the U.S. Senate at that point. So, and that's going to be important as well to make sure that we have our ducks in a row and go in and if clearly got everything organized well for our caucuses.
Now, as a Democrat, I've been able to kind of chuckle up my sleeve a little bit, especially the last election, the travails of the Republican caucus process, and mistakes happen, and everybody understands that. I'm wondering, from your seat in Polk County, have you seen any changes that are getting tightened up? Because it is important,
right? I think a couple of things. For everybody that knows Matt Strawn and knows the type of work that he was doing at the state party, I respect for the fact that Matt did a great job for our state party and did a great job as chairman. The fact is that there was an error made in terms of calling the election for Mitt Romney when we still didn't know. And I think that probably had more to do with national media outlets wanting to know who was the winner. And in fact, going in and telling them, we just don't know. It's sort of like, telling them, it's time to make out with your sister. It doesn't really get them in. It doesn't get them all too excited. So,
oh my goodness, we have gone from upchuckling his shirt to kissing your sister. So that tells me it's time for a break. We're going to be right back after this brief message from our sponsors. We'll be right back with Will Rogers, and we'll talk to him more about local and state politics. Thanks everybody for tuning in. You're listening to Doc and Lefty on webcast1live.com.
Petrosian Associates, how can I help you?
Petrosh and Associates will provide you with a friendly, caring, and confidential place to find help for mental health concerns. We are ready for your call. Our doctor, Dr. J. Patrick Petrosh, provides a full range of psychiatric services for children, adolescents, and adults in a forthright and informative manner while maintaining a casual, comfortable, and relaxed atmosphere.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around after that first segment. We're here with our special guest, Will Rogers, head of the Polk County GOP. And we're talking a little bit about the state politics, and Will, I wanted to transition to you mentioned the South Side race, the candidate Michael Young. Now that's near and dear to my heart because my practice is on the South Side over on Southeast 14th, and I know Doc's got some connections to the area too. Yeah, and we're just kind of we're curious about that race and how he's doing and how you're kind of scoring the thing so far.
Well, I just, Michael's done he's done a good job so far. He's been out door knocking, he's been lit dropping, making phone calls. We've had a phone bank at our Polk GOP headquarters almost every night for like the last 3 weeks. What we're also have had a number of volunteers going out on the weekends doing door knocking Republican and independent households. But as I mentioned earlier, we're basically operating in a 3-to-1 ratio of Democrat registered voters versus Republican voters. So it's a really, in large part, it's been traditionally viewed as a non-competitive district for Republicans. Now, two things. Number one is I think it's important that voters have a choice on who they can vote for on Election Day. And I think, Michael is clearly offering that, an option for people. Brian Myers is the Democrat Party nominee. He's been a Des Moines City Council member and also has worked for Kevin McCarthy prior to his resignation. And, we think there's some things that Michael brings to the ticket that Brian, certainly is I think a strong candidate, but that Michael can do a good job of.
One of the things that I come across all the time when I'm talking to people out and about, they will come up and they will identify themselves as liberal or Democrat. And we start talking politics because that's something I love to do no matter where I'm at. And one of the things that surprises me when I start talking about the Republican platform, these people will sit and say, well, that's not a Republican thing. Obama said that. Obama did this. The Democrats believe this. And when you start talking about, and I'll even call it up on my phone, which I finally figured out how to use, thank you. I'll go over the Republican platform right on my phone versus the Democratic platform, and they'll look at me shocked about, well, I can't believe this is what the Republicans stand for. Now, my question to you is how are you as a Polk County GOP chairman helping Michael overcome this bias out there, this what I would term misinformation?
Well, again, that's one of the things that this district hasn't had in the past, hasn't had a full-out political effort of people going into that area and actually actively engaging voters on their doorstep. It's retail politics. It's going out door to door and having a conversation with people on their doorstep. And just like you said, when you run into people, Pat, and there's people that are, confused about what the party lines are on particular political philosophies, that's the kind of things that we're doing right now. And Michael's been doing that, and our volunteers have been doing that. And again, we've been testing out some new technology. Number one, we've been testing out a handheld voter application that go door to door with, and then also we have a new technology for phone calling. And again, we may not necessarily achieve electoral victory on election night, but if we can narrow this is a 20% precinct. In the past, it's been the Republican loses by 20%. This year, if we can get that down to 10 or maybe even less, that's a victory unto itself. And again, going in there and actively engaging people and showing them that the party is willing to come to them, that makes a big difference as well.
All right.
Now, well then,
sorry,
we got a couple because you said something that I'm interested in. We got two Republicans, two conservative guys in the studio today, and so I want to know some of this platform that seems to be misrepresented to Democrats. I want to see just what is the official platform of the Polk County GOP.
Well, we had 366 planks.
366 planks. Okay, give me the highlights.
Let me tell you what I would say. If you boiled our party platform down into 4 points. It'd be God, country, freedom, and family.
Okay.
And those things are looking at that. Those are the institutions by which we believe that our country best operates on. Number one is God, having a spiritual leadership in some way, shape, or form, forever who that is. We believe that that's important to have somebody that believe in something, again, bigger than themselves.
Okay.
And then obviously our country, it's very important. I believe in American exceptionalism.
Mm-hmm.
I'm someone that believes that, yes, America has greater potential and greater values than other places in the world. I mean, I've traveled around the world. I've been in a war. I've seen where human life is valued less than it is here in the United States. Let me talk about family. Again, the basic institution that has existed throughout the history of man has been institution has been family. And then finally, freedom, which is, again, to me, is an institution unto itself as well. And I think that if you look at our platform, that's really the 4 key areas that we really focus on.
Okay.
Now, we get down into the weeds on some issues like supporting ethanol, production, that is in our platform.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. For me, I think we sometimes make our platform way too cumbersome and hard to communicate. If I got 30 seconds on your doorstep, that's what I'm going to talk to you about is God, country, freedom, and family.
God, country, freedom, and family.
Yep.
Yeah, I think those are good platforms.
Those are
a good platform.
Those
Now,
are things that a lot of people like.
Yes.
Go ahead,
And
Ben.
one of the things that I want to talk a little bit about is the fallout from Kent Sorensen. I mean, I've met Kent before. I've been at a couple of parties. A couple of my friends have thrown fundraisers for him, and I always thought he was a fairly stand-up guy. Him leaving the Senate in a fairly Democratic area, how is that going to hurt the Republicans in the long run? Do you think? Do you think we have a good chance of keeping his seat?
I do think we have a great chance of retaining the seat. Number one, one of the people that's shown some interest right now is State Representative Julian Garrett. Julian is well known in the area. He's well respected. He's someone that I think brings a lot of integrity to the office, which I think is important. Plus, Kent was always kind of a, how would I say, I want to call it lightning rod, or attracted a lot of attention. Julian's not one of those people, and I think a lot of voters in that district right now might be actually looking for someone that doesn't, have that characteristic. I think they want somebody that's going to go to the Capitol, do their job, come back to the district, and listen to voters.
Now, do you know who the Democrat is running against him?
Well, they haven't officially picked either one party, but Mark Davitt, who's a former state representative that Julian actually beat, is in that same is expressed interest in running for the Senate district.
Okay, yeah, because I think the special election I just saw was November 19th, so it's going to be a short time for these people to get ready for the vote.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts about the Republican chances of flipping the Senate in 2014?
I have I've looked at the numbers a little bit and I've talked with some people. It's still certainly within the realm of possibilities. But to be quite honest, if we do our job in Polk County and we work hard to put candidates into districts that normally wouldn't be in play, and we also, I believe here in Polk County, we have the opportunity to win at least 2 House districts and possibly affect a 3rd district, being this state Senate district that is shared between Polk County and Jasper. I think at that point, if we can affect the outcome there as well, I think it's certain that we'll win the Iowa Senate.
All right. Now, we want to thank our guest, Will Rogers, for stopping in today and talking with us. Hopefully he'll stay with us after the break, and we can come back and ask more state and local politics, because sometimes I think we don't get enough into local politics, because national politics is based right on local and state. You're listening to Doc and Lefty on webcast1live.com. We're here every Tuesday from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. We'll be back right after this quick break. All right. When we come back,
Dance Club in Des Moines. A huge dance floor with room to move, 3 bars to keep your drinks full, and kickin' DJs playing all your favorite dance music. At Kitty's, we've always got your birthday party planned with Birthday Fridays. That's right, when your birthday rolls around, there's only one place to go. Gather up your friends and head to Kitty's, where you drink free on the Friday of your birthday week. Find out more about Birthday Fridays at kittysusa.com. Kitty's, all kinds of people, all kinds of music, all kinds of fun.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast 1 Live.
Well, hey, welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking around for the first half hour or so. I don't know, we got to start a little bit late in this new time slot. I'm still a little bit getting used to it.
We had some tech problems.
We're here with Will Rogers, the chairman of the Polk County GOP, and we're talking state and local politics. And at the top of the show, I had kind of discussed that there seems to be some dissatisfaction with Republican leadership, and it's everywhere. At least it seems like it's everywhere. You can't turn around without bumping into a new story, and this isn't just stories of people taking a little Schadenfreude like you hear from a Democrat. This is stuff where opposition research is being handed over to guys at Fox News from other Republicans, or just and Iowa's no different than seems like the rest of the country. We got AJ Spiker is facing a lot of opposition from folks in the party. Ken Sorensen just resigned. It's really dynamic. The situation seems to change all the time. And I just want to get some of your thoughts about whether or not it seems like, because you're closer to the ground or closer to the grassroots level, are folks satisfied with the Republican leadership here in Polk County and the state? Are they dissatisfied? Do they want to see a change? What's your perspective on that?
I encounter a lot of people that are really unhappy with the national political scene, as well as also what's going on at the state party. In fact, as I'm talking to donors, I've been calling donors quite a bit, raising money for our upcoming event with Governor Perry. I'm getting the feedback that there's a lot of people that just feel frustrated with what's going on at the national level. Not so much about the shutdown, but that they don't see that we're really changing the way the country's doing business. And we can go down, a long discussion in that area, but they're just unhappy with how things are operating on the national level. The second thing is obviously here at the state party, the Republican Party of Iowa, it's, in my opinion, it's one of the most disappointing situations that I've experienced ever in being involved in grassroots political organization. Our state party chairman, I'll just give you one example. Our state party chairman, after I was elected, I reached out to him and said, I'd like to find a way that we can work together. I think it's great when all layers of, or levels of our Republican Party function together well. And I wanted to see if there was an opportunity to do so. AJ expressed that he would be interested in doing that. His executive director, Steve Bearfeld, at the state party, I expressed that same sentiment to him as well. In the first 105 days that I was chairman, our access to our GOP database was either turned off or restricted 18 times. And
how does that affect your operation?
Absolutely, because we have to access certain layers of levels of data in the voter database for political activities that we're engaged in. I'll give you one quick example. Celebration, which is a great event that goes on every year at the Iowa State Capitol. It's over 25,000 people come to that. We have a large Asian population, people with a heritage from Asia that come to that event. And we wanted to reach out to a number of those people ahead of time via postcard. And we were successful in doing that. We downloaded the voter file. I actually went through and spent several hours picking out everybody with an Asian surname because that data wasn't accessible for me in the database. Later on, I was interrogated by the state party chairman and his executive director for downloading a large data pull from the database that was upsetting to them because they wanted to know why I would be interested in pulling down such large amounts of data. And I'm like, well, that's because we have they were like, well, you downloaded 80,000 records. And I'm like, yeah, that's how many Republicans we have in Polk County.
Was it a cost thing?
No, there's no cost to it whatsoever. No
issue?
cost to it, no financial issue to it whatsoever. They were just suspicious of our activity.
When you're suspicious of the biggest county in Iowa, and you're suspicious of the chairman of the biggest county in Iowa, Doc, I mean, you don't have to be a whiz kid to know that something stinks in the henhouse.
Well, and absolutely, and don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of libertarians. They make up part of our party. I like them. I like Tea Partiers. They make up part of our party. Let's all get along and get together. But this has been not to use a cliche, but it seems like the libertarians really had a jihad going on when Ron Paul was running. And don't get me wrong, I like Ron Paul, personally, and I like him. He's done a good job in the House. But there's some issues I have with him that I disagree, and it's so big that I don't want to bring it up. But this latest thing, I mean, if you are just pay attention, they're trying to take over every party in the state. Steve Bierfeld had almost a smackdown in December or something like that.
4th District Convention.
Yeah. And it's like, when you have 4 or 5 people getting up there trying to move you out of the way, and then they just cut off your mic and talk to somebody else and get into a yelling contest over how they're going to vote. And what finally gets it going is this gal stands up in the crowd and says, listen, put your testosterone away and let's get this done, right? That's an embarrassment. You can't go around being embarrassing to people. And, I've had several interactions with Steve, and he's always been professional and polite, but you can't behave the way that he's been filmed behaving and get along. You can't send a message to the Des Moines Register, a letter talking about essentially, if you don't like the way I'm running this thing, throw me out at the next election. That doesn't advance our parties. I mean, maybe you have a different attitude about this, Will. But for me, this is just, more establishment backbiting that the Republicans simply don't need.
Well, and that's really the frustrating thing about it is right now we could be focusing on so many other things. Like here a couple of weeks ago, Steve Bierfeld and the Republican Party sent out a message on a Friday about some traffic stops that were going to be traffic safety stops that are going to be taking place in the evening. And basically, we're basically making veiled accusations that the police were doing something A, illegal or unconstitutional, and B, that basically painting them out to be the enemy of our party and of our country. And for me, that was really a disappointment because
you missed that. That was last week. Phaedra and I covered that whole thing, and Representative Tom Shuck all in.
The traffic stop?
Yeah.
The checkpoints?
Yeah. I mean, he sent out a thing that, basically the libertarian chant about, I think it's the Fourth Amendment. You have rights in the Fourth Amendment. You don't do this, you don't do that, and all this other stuff. Well, he sent that out. I can't remember if it was a Facebook or what it was.
Put it out via Facebook, but it was also up on their website. So, and this was informing people to basically, number one, don't give them any information unless they specifically request it, and that is only information you're required to give by law is your license, registration, and your proof of insurance. And do not let them search your vehicle under any conditions, and to videotape the entire encounter. And they actually used the term illegal searches in the email or the information that they had released. Now, you being an attorney, you're familiar with the Fourth Amendment probably just as much as anybody else is. There is certainly the motor vehicle exception that is a part of the, this has been established through case law through the U.S. Supreme Court. And under, the Fourth Amendment, whereas your home is absolutely your private domain, there's probably very few exceptions by which people can enter your home without a warrant. The only what I'm saying to this is in a motor vehicle out on a public road, you have a reduced expectation of privacy.
That is correct.
And these safety traffic stops have been tested in the courts at lower levels and found to be constitutional.
That is also true.
So
yeah.
And that's what, Tom Shaw called in last week, and that's basically what he said.
Yeah, it's really as long as there's notification beforehand and you stop everybody, and so to cut down on profiling, that's a separate issue. I mean, they have to be broad and general in scope, and I didn't realize there was any controversy with those. But I mean, I personally don't like them. Because police investigate, because it smacks of investigation without probable cause. It's a dragnet. You're grabbing anybody. I mean, that's something I wish I would have known that you were talking about that while I was at my gig. But anyway, we got to go to a break.
We're going to go to the break. We're going to be back right after it with Will Rogers, chairman of the Polk County GOP, who's given us a lot of information that's useful about local and state politics. We'll be back right after the break. You're listening to Doc and Lefty on webcast1live.com.
I'm Brian Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershot.
I am administrative mmanager.
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
If we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's your home.
It's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's gonna be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're gonna do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
Enough said.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. This is Lefty with Doc and Lefty here at webcast1live.com. We sure want to thank our sponsors to the show, sponsors of the studio that keep the lights on and pay our wonderful engineer and producer his salary. I know the Bertrosian Associates is that's Doc's outfit. Really great sponsor of the show. My outfit, Labinas Law Firm. We got Polk County GOP. Used to, I think you guys still do. I haven't talked to Doc about it in a while. Have helped sponsor the show every once in a while.
Yep.
And we really appreciate that. At the top of this second half hour, I wanted to make sure to note that we have now been on the air for about a year at this point. I can't remember.
Just short of a year.
Just short of a year. Our first, do you remember what's our 1 year anniversary of the new format?
I think we were just at the end of October.
It was right around then.
Weeks,
yeah,
yep.
Obviously anniversaries are very important to Doc and I. And in that year,
that's why we're both divorced.
That's exactly right. I'm working on relationship number 2, and Doc just gave up. He was the guy that gave up after the first time because he heard the widely attributed Oscar Wilde quote that goes, second marriages are the triumph of emotion, of hope over experience. Anyway, we have in the last year more than doubled our listenership.
Well, we've increased our listenership by almost 50,000 times from our very first show.
We went our very first show.
I think we had 2 people. I think it was my mom and my brother.
Yeah, probably that's and the fact that I get to come on this show and talk and say all the things that I say and have kept your brother as a listener. We're moving in the right direction, but our analytics has shown that we're up over 40,000 people. So folks, 47,000 folks, listeners of the Doc and Lefty program, thank you so much. We hope that you keep coming back for more because we are committed to doing a great job for you. Now that that's out of the way, go back to the state party.
I'm glad you got that together there.
Well, hey, thanks.
Yes. All right, you're welcome.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, we're with Will Rogers, Polk County GOP chairman.
The Will Rogers.
The Will Rogers.
not the other one. But Will, we've been talking about the state party and the condition of the state party, and it seems to me as an outside observer in quite a bit of disarray. Well, maybe not disarray in the sense that you guys are disorganized, but certainly there's been some infighting and some dissatisfying things. We've been talking about the leadership. Now, AJ Spiker and Steve Bierfield are libertarians. I think they're confirmed libertarians, if I'm not mistaken. I thought that we confirmed that. Yeah. And at least they bend that way from a political standpoint. And I kind of thought that as non-establishment, non-institutional Republicans, that they were elected to kind of come in and shake things up because you see nationally Republicans, Tea Partiers, Libertarians, like very dissatisfied. That's why John Boehner's having all the problems that he's having. That these more insurgent, I don't mean to use that word in negative context, but these upstart Republicans, these younger Republicans that have come up, are dissatisfied with their institutional leadership. And now I'm hearing a couple of guys that have professed to be upset with their institutional leadership going after the guy that, in my view, was elected to bring things up. So why am I wrong? Why was AJ Spiker brought in?
Well, I think one of the things that people don't, that weren't privy to is, yes, there were a lot of people that were libertarians that came out in the caucus process in 2012. They then moved on to the, county and district state conventions. And AJ, when he was selected to be the party nominee, he received a lot of support from the other additional Central Committee members that are not libertarian. They are, whether they're social conservatives, like recently Wes Enos, who resigned. Mm-hmm. Wes would probably fall into the social conservative category of our party spectrum. And at that time, people like Wes and other people were told, AJ is willing to work with everybody in our party. But it was soon after that he was elected chair that he started to basically go out and do his own thing, and subsequently wasn't really paying a whole lot of heed to that promise that he had made to people. And purposely, like I said, they've willfully done things to antagonize Polk County. I mean, our county party used to be housed in office in the state party headquarters. They came to us very early on and said, and I wasn't even chairman at the time, but asked our chairman and our executive director to give us 30 days notice and told us that we needed to vacate the premises. And partly one of the major issues was it was due to security purposes. They never changed the locks after we left. So if it was a real security need, why would they have not have changed the locks at that point? Here's how I would describe this to the both of you so I can put it in some type of an analogy. Mm-hmm. This is the case of where the dog finally caught the car. And didn't know what to do with it once it had it in its mouth.
Well, I think that's very appropriate because I do believe that these people do have a lot of talent, but I believe that they are very short on experience in how to operate and not alienate the people that are going to get you elected. And, let's face it, here in Polk County, we've suffered some losses under their leadership.
We've got some great libertarian Republican activists. They're libertarian in the sense that they're big R, small L, meaning that's where they come out of the political spectrum in the Republican Party. They're of the libertarian mindset, and they're great activists. They've been out door knocking and lid dropping in Michael Young's race. They're also doing a lot of other things to help build our party. But when you boil it down to just the handful of people that are involved at the state party, it's caused a lot of problems for not just myself, but other county party leaders around the state.
Well, I believe that under AJ's watch, we lost a seat that belonged to Scott Racker for 14 years. And how do you lose a Republican seat in Armadale, Iowa to, a guy that nobody's really even heard of? And it's just one of those things where you go, well, hold on. If you're winning us seats, great, we'll take your crap. But he's costing us seats. That's how I look at it.
Can I just interject there? And there's another shortcoming that I felt that the state party had. They took the available campaign funds this last election cycle, and instead of putting money, a significant amount of money, into the race in House District 40, where you had our Republican nominee Mike Brown running against the Democrat Party candidate John Forbes, who eventually won, we ended up giving every candidate on the ballot $500. Now, there's a level of fairness and equitability to that type of decision making, but it also, in my opinion, was something that where if $500 didn't make a bit of difference to 90% of the races that money went into, and if you could have put in an additional $20,000, $30,000 in terms of TV and direct mail and helping put some boots on the ground in that district, might have affected the outcome.
So maybe just kind of an inability to triage. Now we're hitting the Republican Party leadership pretty hard. So if you're listening and you want to call in, the number is 888-244-0077. I did that from memory, and I'm pretty sure that I got it. 888-244-0077. You call, and if you got a question for Will, or you just want to tell Will and Pat why they're wrong and everything's hunky-dory in the Republican Party, even if you support the Republican Party or to agree with them or whatever you want to do, you can call that number. We're here for the next little bit. You said something interesting, because I always wonder, and maybe you guys can jump all over this point, but I always kind of wonder, you haven't seen this level of we call it a schism here on the show, in the Republican Party. I mean, it's like the Democrats in the 70s, frankly.
Absolutely.
It really is. And I wonder, this embracing of the more libertarian side of conservatism, which is a weird thing for me. How is it that the libertarians and the social conservatives, and I'm not trying to attack either side, I'm curious from a political science standpoint, how do they reconcile with each other? I feel like, because that's a tough thing from a social issue kind of standpoint.
Right. This is something that I've talked about with other people as well, but we've had different movements come into power within the Republican Party over let's just take a 30 to 40 year period. Certainly, if you go back to Gerald Ford, Richard Nixon, Eisenhower, we certainly had what we called an establishment Republican Party at that point. Then you have the rise of Ronald Reagan in the 1970s, and eventually becomes president in 1980 due to the fact that he brings together the Republican Party with a large base of conservative voters that had not actively participated before in the election cycles. This was the moral majority, the evangelical Christian, and then subsequently that helped propel people into the national spotlight, such as Pat Robertson did in the late 80s as well.
Right.
Now, we then went for almost another 20 years until the next two movements came. And the first one that came along was in the 2008 to 2010 period, which was the Tea Party movement that came in. And again, I still remember Senator Grassley speaking at a town hall meeting in Adel, Iowa, that had 1,200 people show up, and they literally had to move it out into the town square on a hot evening.
Oh, it was brutal.
Brutal night. But, it showed the level of dissatisfaction, not just of, any particular block of people. This was that mostly Tea Party activists that turned up for this. And these are people that were, again, new voters, or people that had felt not really a part of the party, and that they came into to significant control, and to an extent still have a large role in the national scene. But right on top of it, within less than 2 years, you have the Libertarian or Campaign for Liberty movement that comes along right on top of it. And that's something that we haven't really seen before in the Republican Party. Usually what you have is a group that rises up within the party, may take control, whether it's forcibly or just kind of fills a natural void, and then things desublimate back down into the status quo.
Sure.
You've had basically two movements that have all happened within 4 years.
Do you think that that's going to, because I'm curious, I'm always curious about social issues with the Republican Party because they seem so incongruent to me. Do you think that this liberty movement and the more conservative, the more social conservative folks can coexist in a party where things like gay marriage are becoming more and more acceptable nationally? The liberty folks kind of don't care about that as much, and the religious conservatives do. And if so, if you do see that kind of those come to loggerheads, my thought about the Republican Party always seems to be it's the Christian conservative. Well, it's the social conservatives that when they're mad at the Republican Party, more so than on the left, where like the labor unions will hold their nose and vote and get their members out to vote. The social conservatives actively punish the Republican Party at elections if they're dissatisfied. They stay home. They say I'm not going to do anything, and really that's what you saw in 2006. That's what I mean, riding a liberal wave, obviously, but in 2012 you saw a lot of that too. And so I just kind of wonder, how is that going to affect the Republican Party as a unified platform with those two different sorts of things?
I think that, like, for example, this election cycle, we're still gonna have some divisions with their party going into 2014, and possibly even on election night, not have a completely unified party. But at the same time, I don't think that the majority of social conservatives and the majority of establishment Republicans, I use establishment for lack of a better term, and also for the libertarians, if you pull all those various groups together, they still have a base of 80 to 90% of the issues that they can agree on in principle. They might not agree on those at the same level of intensity, but they certainly do agree on them. Most of the libertarians that I talk to, they may not necessarily feel the same way about or believe the same thing about marriage, but what they're concerned about with marriage in America is that perhaps it isn't the best institution for the government to actually be engaged in or involved with.
Okay.
Like, for example,
right.
Should the government have any responsibility for issuing marriage licenses in the first place?
Okay. But then wouldn't that then mean that a homosexual couple can just get married?
Well, that's one way.
That would put if they don't do any licenses, then everybody's on equal footing, which is what
the question becomes: is it a religious institution or is it a civil institution?
Mm-hmm.
And for evangelical Christians, they're trying to fight for both. The libertarian would actually say it's really not the responsibility of the government to be engaged in marriage to begin with, anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like that satisfies everybody.
They don't necessarily conflict. They don't necessarily have the same perspective nor intensity.
Yep, I would agree with that. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back with Will Rogers, who is the Polk County GOP chairman, right after this quick break. Frank, take us away.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
If Tom Coates from Consumer Credit of America was your personal webmaster, Tom would filter out all bad debt emails. If Tom was your mailman, you'd never get any debt reduction junk mail. If Tom Coates was a lineman, he'd block any phone calls offering to reduce your credit card debt.
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America, and we're still your best choice for credit counseling. We're local, we're accountable, and we can do more. You make the call when the time's right for you.
When it comes to competition, there really is none for Consumer Credit of America.
Back, everybody. We're in the home. We're in the home stretch. Thanks to I had to get my training wheels out of the garage and dust them off and put them back on for the show, because it seems like if I take a week off, I really need to put the floaties on and kind of
float around in the pool.
Yeah, kind of get to the deep end through the ramp waiting area that all the little kids are in, because I'm having a tough time today. But anyway, we're sitting with Will Rogers, the chairman of the Polk County GOP. Thanks you very much, Will, for hanging out with us. We really appreciate your perspective on all this stuff. But
I got a couple of questions, if you don't mind, a little bit more national politics about the race for the Senate and Bruce Braley's seat.
Well, that's local.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, how does the Polk GOP really help these people get elected? Because the lesson I learned when I ran is you go to Polk County and you don't leave, right? Because you can take all the surrounding counties and they won't add up to the votes in Polk County. So how are you trying to help these people figure out who's going to get elected? Because the last poll I saw, Sam Clovis had a significant lead, but Joni Ernst has all the
Sam Clovis is leading the field,
47% to 17. Joni Ernst is second.
Oh boy, you guys don't want a Republican Senate majority in Iowa, do you?
I think the guy speaks to the heart of fiscal conservatives. So anyway, I just want to, obviously Will can't take a side on this, but how are you going to help straighten out the field and how to get?
Well, we're not going to. First of all, as a party leader, I'm not going to have any specific role in picking a side. I'm not going to make any endorsements of any candidates, and I don't necessarily feel that like Kim Reynolds, she's fine. She wants to make a particular, but I wasn't elected by my constituents in Polk County. The Central Committee members didn't elect me so I could go around making endorsements of candidates in primary situations. But my recommendation to folks is definitely to come to Polk County, spend some time and resources getting to know voters in our area, in the Republican Party, if you want to win the party nomination, as well as when the general election comes. Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to be there again. We're recruiting volunteers. We're recruiting people that are going to really roll up their sleeves and put on their tennis shoes and go out and door knock and lit drop and make phone calls and help raise money and do the things that are going to position our candidates to win. And if our candidates have the right message and voters are ready to make a change, then absolutely, I think we're going to see whoever a Republican candidate is be really competitive this election cycle.
All right. Now, once they figure out who is going to be the nominee for Senate, at what point does the Polk County GOP start to actually give some money or give some support to these candidates?
Right away. Next day. Absolutely. And one of the things is our financial resources, whereas they will be limited, they go into, again, basically more of that shoe leather retail political activity that can get down to the door with a face to help people make a connection with our party and our candidates.
All right. Now, why don't you tell us again about this fundraiser that's coming up?
Well, again, folks, if you want to come to this event, this is going to be a wonderful experience. I believe that Governor Perry, is coming off he had a very good year so far this year. He's going to be our special guest speaker. That's going to be on Thursday, November the 7th. The reception starts at 6 p.m. The dinner starts at 7 p.m. It's at the Embassy Suites in downtown Des Moines. And if you'd like to get tickets for that event, please call our phone number at the office and that's an area code 515-280-6438. Again, that's 280-6438, or visit our website at polkgop.com.
All right. Now, that's always a pretty good time. I go. Lefty always skips out on it. I don't know why. But we always go. I always go. I always have a good time. I get to meet, who's who of the Republican Party. And usually I get some pretty decent interviews going on. So it's really a great time, great speakers. It's always a lot of fun just to meet and greet these people. Will, I have a question for you on a national level. What would be your advice to John Boehner at this time to get ourselves out of the mess that's going on out in D.C.? What if you had a 1-to-1, what would you tell him?
I'd say you've had your vote to defund Obamacare. You've had your vote to stall it a year. Your party is now on record. I'd say get a deal done. When I say get a deal done, get a resolution passed that allows the government to reopen at a full level. Get rid of the debt ceiling issue in its entirety, and then get beyond any default on our federal loans. And then at that point, I'd go out and I'd start recruiting candidates. And really, this isn't about President Obama is not going to. He's not going to negotiate. He's unwilling to. Maybe he's unable to. I mean, this was his major piece of legislation that he passed without any Republican support whatsoever. I'm just, he didn't need us to get it done, and he doesn't need us now. I mean, we are going to cause great disruption in our country if we actually go into default. And I don't think that anybody can tolerate that. I mean, we've had, I'm not blaming Republicans. I think this is all of our political leadership. I think President Obama is equally as guilty as anybody else not being willing to go and truly negotiate.
All right. So, well, we want to thank Will Rogers for showing up tonight. He is Polk County GOP. Remember, they're having a big fundraiser. Why don't you tell us the information about that again real quick?
Just go to our website at polkgop.com or call our phone number at 280-6438. Again, tickets are still available. The event is November the 7th and with Governor Rick Perry.
All right. Well, Will, thanks a lot for showing up. Now, Lefty, you got anything going on this week?
Nope. Just plugging away, trying to get some things done at work.
Just plugging away.
That's
All
it.
right. Now, we're going to be back next week. Hopefully by then we'll have something else to talk about besides the GOP basically selling themselves out right at the end.
I want to thank you both for letting me be on the show this evening, and also congratulations on your numbers again. That's great news for the both of you.
Oh yeah, great.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. We'll see everybody next week on webcast1live.com from 6:30 to 7:30. Don't forget to tune in to Ed's show from 6 to 6:30. He leads us in now. Thanks everybody. We'll be back in 1 week.